Hey everyone, welcome to the very first video of our Fairtex Fight Tips series. I'm Kendu, and today we're diving deep into one of the most critical aspects of Muay Thai, the clinch. We're going to break down advanced clinch techniques and show you how to use them to control your opponent, land strikes, and even break free when things aren't going your way. Let's get started. Alright, so we're going to work on different entries into the clinch. So the first way that we're going to get into the clinch is very simple. We're just walking in. So obviously in a fight, your opponent's going to be ready to hit you, but in this case, we're just going to work basic walking into the clinch without having somebody striking back. So, me and my opponent are standing, I'm gonna have my hands up, and I'm just walking in. I walk, and I establish position, right? Again, so I'm standing across from my opponent, and I walk right in, and I establish position. If he punches me, my hands are out, my guard is long, and I work my way in, into the clinch. The second way to get into the clinch will be running in. So now we're basically gonna take the first step, and we're gonna do it much faster. So, instead of me just walking in, I'm going to dash in. I'm expecting strikes from him and I'm trying to get in quickly. And I work my position, control the arms, control the head, however. Hands up, and we rush in. Control the hands, control the head, work position, knees, elbows, all that good stuff. So, the third way that we get into the clinch is hopping in. So, I'm gonna use my lead leg. Once again, standing across from my opponent. I'm ready for him to maybe throw low kicks, throw kicks. So I'm jumping in. Same thing, I land and I work position. Control the head, control the arms, look for knees, look for elbows, whatever it is. One more time. I hop in, maybe I knee, and I control. The last way that we get into the clinch is boxing in. So I'm gonna punch my way into the clinch. This, out of the few ways that I've showed, is one of the safer ways to get in because usually your opponent is actually trying to punch you or hit you, especially when you're entering the clinch consistently. So we're standing across from our opponent. I punch whatever punches I want here. I work my way in and I start to score. One more. One. Ooh. So I occupy their hands, I get their hands up, I hit wherever I'm trying to hit, and I work my way into the clinch. Maybe I even work in some elbows. So next, we're gonna go over a few ways to stop someone from entering into the clinch. We have 3 ways to do that. So the first way that we're gonna do is very simple. We're just gonna pivot out of the way. So my partner's coming in, and I'm just going to step off to the side and pivot, right? One more time, I'm just gonna step off. Maybe from here, I can kick, I can punch, I can follow up in other ways. Now we're gonna try the other way. So he steps in, I step out, I kick, or whatever I wanna follow up with. Okay, so the next way to stop an entry, what we're gonna be doing is a knee stall. So there are a few ways to get this done, but today we're just gonna do it very simple. I'm just gonna lift my leg. So I have the idea that my opponent is coming in to knee me. So he's marching in. I'm literally just gonna stall with my knee and keep my balance. So if he wants to knee or kick, he cannot. I'm blocking his knee with my leg. So one more time, he's stepping in, I lift my leg, and I simply block this way. If he keeps coming forward, I keep my balance, and I bounce on my back leg. So our third way to stop an entry into the clinch is a simple push away or post. So my opponent is coming in, and I'm just going to use my lead hand and post right on his chest and push him away. One more time, he steps in, and I post. If that doesn't work, maybe I angle out and use something else. So one more, he steps in, I post, maybe I push him away and follow up with something to attack. So pro tip, when you post, you want to be using your palm. So when my opponent is coming in, there are a few places I can post. I could post on the chest. I could post a little higher, on the neck even, if I want to, push him away by his neck. I can also post on the forehead or on the face and push away. So there are many different points of contact that I can have when I post. Chest, neck, and head. Okay, so now we're gonna discuss what you actually do with your arms when you are inside the clinch. So, me and my opponent are entering the clinch. First things first, is in the clinch we have elbows. So I always wanna be controlling the inside of my opponent's arms. If I can't control the inside, I still wanna be controlling their elbows in some way, shape, or form while we move through. So first things first, I'm controlling his biceps. This is just one way to control your opponent's grips, to control their arms. So here I'm controlling the arms. Here, I'm grabbing a grip, controlling the head. I like to have one arm framing, one arm securing. So that means on one side, I'm keeping my opponent close to me. On the other side, I'm keeping him away. So I like to frame and secure at the same time. So if we're swimming, Maybe my opponent is, obviously when we're actually clinching in a fight, my opponent will be moving his arms. So we swim, he swims inside to my head, I swim, and we change our arm position. So I want to, like I said, keep my arms on the inside so that I can control, so that I can get a dominant position eventually, and then hopefully get some knees, get some elbows. So now we're gonna work on controlling your opponent's head and neck. In Muay Thai, your posture is very, very important. So when me and my opponent enter the clinch, however we enter, so I'm just getting a random grip, my opponent tends to go for my head. When my opponent goes for my head, if he pulls my head down and I just go with him, this is very bad. He could knee my face, he controls my posture, and in general, I'm just losing. In Muay Thai, when your head is down, you are losing. So you wanna keep your head up, keep your chin down. When your chin is up, it is very easy for your opponent to elbow you to sleep, which is not good. So we chin down and posture. When I'm going to control the head, now I'm going to go for what they call a double collar tie position, or the traditional Muay Thai plum. Here, I want to, same thing, I want to frame and I want to secure. My elbows are keeping him away from me and I'm pulling him towards me at the same time. If I can pull his head down, I can knee his head, I can knee his body, I can knee with the other side, I can step and control him and knee. This is a very, very dominant position, one of the most dominant positions in Muay Thai. From when we are in the clinch, we're gonna discuss opening space and closing space. So, when I have my opponent in any position, but we're gonna start from the double collar tie here. If he tries to swim inside, I have to be ready to block with my elbow. Even if we're not in this position and he's just trying to swim, whichever way he goes, I have to be ready to try and stop. Go ahead. Yeah, to stop, just keep going. Wherever his arms are going, I have to be ready to control his arms and not let him inside. Of course, they're never gonna just give you any position, but you have to be ready to keep going, keep swimming, and to keep a dominant position. So now we're gonna talk about making space. So imagine I have my opponent once again in double collar tie. If I want to knee him and I'm this close, I need to create space for my knee to be effective. So one way to create space is just to step my leg back. I step my leg back and I knee, or I knee to the head. Another way is I move my hip. I push my hip back, and then I use that space for kneeing. So one of our major weapons in the clinch is our elbows. So the way that we use our elbows, me and my opponent are entering the clinch, I have inside position. First elbow we're gonna work on is a simple up elbow. So I'm controlling the inside of my opponent's arms. In a real fight, my opponent is going to be trying to stop me from elbowing at all times. But from here, I'm not getting much resistance. I'm gonna control the arms, I drop my weight, and I'm gonna come up with an up elbow. I can do this on both sides. Up. I can also, if I can, control the head and use that to work on elbows, okay? If that's not working, then obviously I just keep moving and I find a better position. So another elbow that we're gonna use from inside the clinch requires us to pull the arm down. So my opponent and I are in the clinch. Okay, I look for position. Maybe I'm here, I'm controlling their arm, I'm controlling their head. So I have my arm over their arm. I'm gonna step, I'm gonna pull this arm down and I'll use it to go for the elbow. One more time. So I have outside position this time, I don't have inside. From outside position, if I need to step, I need to step. If you don't have to step, then it's okay. But for this particular situation, we're gonna step, I'm gonna make space, pull this arm down, and go for the elbow. From there, maybe I knee, maybe I elbow again, whatever I decide to do in the fight situation. So whenever we go for these elbows, there are many places to target with the elbow. One good place to target is above the eyebrows, on the forehead. This is a place where a lot of people get cut. If you can cut someone effectively on the top of their head and blood flows into their eyes, it's a great way to either get them into a position where they're not fighting at the best of their ability or to get the referee to stop the fight. Another great place to aim is their chin. If you want to knock somebody out, you aim for the point of their chin with the point of your elbow as hard as you can, and maybe you can get a KO. As for elbowing to somebody's forehead, in this case, I'll pull the arm down just to show. I'm pulling the arm and I aim to cut the head and I aim through. If I'm going to KO him, you can go for the temple, you can go for the head still for KOs, but if I really want to KO him, I go for the point of his chin. Now we're going to work on the different knees within the clinch. There are, depending on where you go, depending on who you ask, there are so many different ways to knee somebody from within the clinch. But today we're going to work on 3 major ways. So the first way we're going to work on is your straight knee. So I'm in the clinch, me and my opponent have position, whatever it may be. So I get some type of dominant position. I'm stepping my leg back to make space, and I straight knee. Same thing with my other leg, straight knee. Straight knee. Straight knee. The second knee we're gonna work on is a side knee. So I'm aiming for my opponent's rib. So I step and I aim to knee on the side. If we're in an actual fight situation, I will aim with the point of my knee. But in training, I'll aim with the inside of my leg. So in training, I'll make a nice loud slap. But in the fight, I will knee with the point. So from inside the clinch, now we're gonna work on off-balancing our opponent a little bit. So I'm just gonna step. I'm stepping diagonally outside of my opponent's feet, and I am pulling him. And I can use that to make space for a knee. I can also do it the other way. I use that to make space for a knee. So I'm off-balancing my opponent, I'm stepping, and I'm using the space to knee. I'm stepping, and I'm using the space to knee or elbow, whatever I choose to do. The last thing we're gonna do, something that I would caution you guys against in most cases, because boxing in the clinch can be a bit dangerous. You have to look out for elbows, you have to look out for other weapons when you try to do something like this. But you can always, if the time calls for it, go for a bit of dirty boxing. So here, I have the top of my opponent's head. Normally, I would go for elbows, but if I must, I can go for uppercuts. I can go for, sometimes you see people get locks and go for punches. They mix in punches with their strikes, punches, elbows. This is something you see, especially in the little gloves nowadays. Punching in the clinch, dirty boxing. Swimming, now we're gonna talk about swimming. Swimming is a very important skill to have in the clinch. We're just working on finding better position and continuously moving. So, I enter the clinch with my opponent. I have inside position. I grab for the head. He tries to advance position as well. So we're kind of 50-50. From here, I try to get inside. He tries to get inside. And we swim. I go for the head. He goes for the head. We're swimming. Then it becomes more natural. We work for whatever position we're looking for. And we work for dominant position. So we swim, we swim, we swim. I want to control the inside of his arms. Why? Once again, if I'm not controlling the inside of his arm, he's going to elbow me. And I don't want that. So, constantly, as I'm moving, I'm trying to make sure that I'm not getting elbowed at the same time. Okay? So we're controlling the inside of our arms, inside of our opponent's arms, and we're swimming for dominant position. So when I'm in the clinch swimming, I try to narrow my shoulders a bit. So I'm working my way to controlling my opponent's head. If he does the same, we're here. I swim my arm in. From outside control, I'm swimming to the inside. Either I control the arm, or I go for the head, and my opponent does the same, right? Here, I'm controlling the outside. I'm making sure that he cannot elbow me. If my arm is not here, he can control my head, or he can elbow me, or he can just put my head down. Here, at least, I can keep my posture and control his arm. So, if I don't want this pressure here, once again, I swim my arm in, I narrow my shoulder a bit, and I control. And then if I can get here and control with both my arms, I have double collar tie, I have a dominant position. Now I can work my knees, work my elbows. So now we're going to work on breaking the lock. So the most common lock that you'll see, especially in the beginning when you start training Muay Thai, is this double collar tie position here. So I want my opponent to put me in this position. He's framing and securing. He's keeping me close and far. If I want to move away, I can't quite so well. If I want to move in, his elbows are controlling me, and he's going to create space for knees. This I do not want. So the most basic way that you are taught to get out of the double collar tie is first you cross face. So I press him across his face. If this works, because this doesn't always work, I then get my arm inside, and I start to work for better position. Okay? So again, he controls me. I'm going to use my hand. I'm going to push my hand across the face. If I have to use both hands, I'll do that too. Then I work my way to a better position. So one other way to break the lock, one basic way. So my opponent goes for the lock. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my shoulder to kind of make his lock a bit uncomfortable here and make space for my arm to work in. From there, we're back to stage one. I'm working position, inside control, outside control. I'm trying to frame and secure and get good position. So in the clinch and in Muay Thai, posture can be very important and appearances can be very important. If you're being bent down like this in the clinch, you're not doing well. If you're being pressed and you're contorting your body, this is also not doing very good. So if my opponent has me in the clinch, obviously I don't want to be here. This is a terrible position for me. But if I'm not and I'm postured up and I cross face, one thing I want to do is I want to make him look away. I want his posture to not be strong. So whether I use one hand or I use both arms, I'm trying to break his posture. You can break his posture going forward or pulling him forward, or you can do it this way, pushing him back. So I'm pushing his chin and his head away. This way he can't effectively knee me and he can't effectively hold me. And from there, I work to a better position. One more way to break the lock is pushing the head straight back. This is especially good if you're a taller fighter. So my opponent has me in the double collar tie. So I keep my posture up to the best of my ability. So in this case, I'm using both my arms and I'm pushing his head straight back. From here, I could work knees, I could work elbows if I can, or I can just break my way out of the clinch and then follow up with something else. One very commonly used technique here in Thailand especially, when we are in the clinch and we are exchanging knees. So me and my opponent are in the clinch. I knee, he knees. I knee, he knees. Then I stop kneeing and he keeps kneeing me. Maybe I'm tired, maybe I don't have the energy, whatever it is. So I keep getting kneed, he's controlling me, he's kneeing me. So what I'm going to do is, because I don't want him to score anymore, I'm going to put my leg up because I don't want to get kneed anymore. Now he cannot knee. He tries to knee, but I'm controlling. From there, maybe I can work something else. But what I'm doing is I'm stalling. So I shin shelf, I put my leg up on his leg so that he cannot knee, and I wait. If anything, then the referee will come in and break us, and I've actually done pretty well. If I can break his posture in this position, that's even better. But basically here, I am stalling. I do not want to get kneed anymore. Okay, another way to stall essentially when we are in the clinch. This one you see a bit more for shorter fighters. They'll do this on a taller fighter. So I'm kneeing, he knees back. I knee, he knees back. Maybe I'm getting kneed too much at some point. He keeps kneeing me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot in. And I'm going to go for the body lock. And I'm going to hold him into the... This is not a great position for you in traditional Muay Thai. It does not score well. But sometimes it has to be done if you are getting kneed and you do not want to be kneed anymore. Okay, so we're going to go over some slightly gray area tactics. The first one we're going to go over is using our head in the clinch. So imagine me and my opponent are clinching. One thing that I actually like to do quite a bit in the clinch, it's not great if you are the taller opponent and you have a shorter opponent, because what happens is you may end up breaking your posture in such a way that doesn't score well for you. But we're just gonna imagine that Sean is taller than me in this moment. So one thing I like to do is, let's say I get a good position. I will use my head and I will grind it into my opponent's face. I will make it very uncomfortable for them. And then I will use that space to knee, elbow, whatever I want to do. But especially with my hair the way it is right now, this can be very uncomfortable if you grind it into their face. Sometimes you can create scratches, you can create a very uncomfortable sensation for your opponent. So this is one way to be a little dirty in the clinch. One fighter who is very famous for using this tactic is Tapagao. He used this on Sangmini and Ferrari. Actually, after both fights, they had road rash and scratches all over their face from his head pressure in the clinch. Okay, so now we're gonna work on a particular lock from the clinch. One way to enter this lock. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get his arm involved in this lock here. I want his arm to stay in. So we're imagining he has control of my head. I'm gonna push his elbow up just a little bit and work my shoulder in. From here, we're gonna turn so that the camera can see. I'm now in. I'm going to lock my hands, all right? You can lock in a few ways, but in this particular situation, we're gonna use a monkey grip, thumb in grip. So here, from locking, I'm gonna once again use my head to make it uncomfortable for him and make sure that he can't get out. If he tries to pull his arm out, I have locked, so I'm not gonna allow him to get out so easily. From here, I could go for some sweeps. I could go for some knees. I could control the face and go for knees and elbows. Can do many things from this position, but one thing I can also do, I control the arm, I grab the back. I far side grip him. From here, I'm gonna step and I'm gonna swivel with my shoulder. And I'm gonna take the back. This is a very high scoring technique in Muay Thai. If this is round 4, round 3, I've won the fight. One very common tactic, a bit gray area that you'll also see amongst fighters, is holding after the referee says break. This is not done to necessarily cheat per se, but sometimes you're a bit tired, sometimes you need to be safe, you don't know if your opponent's gonna hit you after you let go. So you just hold on for a few more seconds to make sure that everything goes the way that it should. So me and my opponent are clinching naturally, kneeing, whatever it is.
Break, 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 break.
And we get back into it. We clinch, knee, maybe I get a strong grip, the referee comes in for whatever reason.
Break, break, break.
And then I let go. So when the referee actually does come in and break you, I like to make the referee work a little bit. I want the referee to physically come in and break me and my opponent up. I'm not going to do it for the referee. So I'm going to hold and the referee has to come in and break us up. One thing you'll also see pretty commonly in the clinch, outside of the clinch, is holding the ropes. Clamping onto the ropes with your arm, having your arms under your opponent and then holding the ropes here while people can't see. These are little tricks that you see people use. Grabbing the rope, holding the rope, maybe getting swept and grabbing onto the rope so that you don't go down. Little gray area fouls, essentially, that you can use to help you not lose. Sweeps are also a very common technique in the clinch in Muay Thai, or even outside of the clinch. So one way to sweep, a very basic sweep to use in Muay Thai, I'm going to have inside control and head control. So I'm going to step to the outside of my opponent's foot. I'm going to move him to my right. As I move him, I'm essentially going to trip him with my foot and allow him to fall over it. So when you do this, there are a few things you have to look out for. It is illegal to use the instep when you sweep. This is not allowed. It is illegal to hook the leg when you sweep. This is not allowed. You have to sweep with the kicking surface, the same surface that you use to kick. This is the legal way to sweep. So I step and I'm going to use my shin to make sure that he falls. One technique or trick that you'll see used a bit in fights is you'll see people fall on top of their opponents. This is not always what you're going for in a sweep. A good dominant sweep, you throw your opponent and you walk around, you make them look weak. But in this particular case, maybe you're having trouble getting them down. Maybe you need a second to rest. So we're gonna go down on top of them. So let's say I have a body lock on my opponent, right? And I go to sweep, I go and have him trip over my knee and I go down with him. Obviously, in a fight, I'll probably land a bit harder. But from here, another trick that you'll see people use, which is not very nice, is they'll get up and they'll use their knee as they get up, or you'll see them mush the face as they get up. These are very not nice gray area tactics that you'll also see people use in the clinch. Landing on top of your opponent, landing hard, and then mushing them as you get up or using your knee. Thank you for watching. If you found anything useful, comment what you would like to see next.